Welcome to My Favorite CX, a podcast that celebrates exceptional customer experiences. To listen to today's, please choose from one of the following options.
Welcome everyone to My Favorite Customer Experience. I am Chris Holt and I'm joined today by Craig Gironda. Craig, welcome to My Favorite Customer Experience.
Thanks, Chris.
So Craig is a Senior Vice President of Customer Experience at Vertical Communications and is a customer experience and solutions engineering leader who creates, builds and nurtures successful teams selling to enterprise accounts globally. Craig is a master at helping to build the next leaders across our industry, and I can say this from experience, having had the opportunity to be mentored by Craig during my career. Craig, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and what it is specifically that you do?
Sure, thanks, Chris. My job is really focused around the entire customer lifecycle. How can we get customers to want to do business with us? So we're a strategic consultative partner. Our focus is on customer experience, and I define customer experience in many different ways, and one of those ways is product oriented. So what's the customer experience product? Well, it combines pretty much everything: UCaaS, CCaaS, CPaaS, CRM solutions, ERP, everything that goes into that formula to create a great customer experience. So I'm involved in all aspects of it, from the initial buyer's journey all the way through the retention and lifecycle model. Primarily cloud.
And what is it you're seeing at the moment within customer experience that's exciting you?
Well, I'm seeing that people are actually investing and they're listening. And one of the best things that can occur for a company in our position, being a strategic partner, is working with customers and the people inside the customers who are open to insights. They're open to learning about what is possible, what are the capabilities that are out there, because you can do your own research and you can get pretty far down your own research path, but you're not going to have that knowledge or know-how, right? You're going to have the information. So how do we get that knowledge and know-how, that experience, and leverage that to help you to really have a successful project of implementing the new technology and really leveraging that to, and I call it DIME. How are we going to design, implement, measure, and evolve? And that's what our focus is on. And I'm very excited about the fact that people are investing in this. And I think a lot of people talk about this in terms of people are going to use a lot more AI and a lot more AI-based tools. But AI is just a tool to help you deliver a better customer experience. So that's the tack we're taking. We're not going in saying you should be using AI. We're going in talking about improving your customer experience. How are you competing? How are you differentiating yourself? And at the same time, that C for customer could also mean constituent. And constituent to me also has a meaning of, it could be the people inside of your organization. So how are you improving their jobs, their ability to do their jobs, their job satisfaction, their fulfillment? And then there's one more C, and because we do a lot of work in public sector with governments, constituent can also mean the citizens. So how are you helping the citizens? They're your customers, but they're not really your customers. They're citizens. So we like to look at it from that full 360-degree vantage point.
And that's certainly something that when we work together is becoming more of a challenge now, in that it's not just a straight delivery and then you hand it over to implement, and then during the life it goes across to people to maintain. It's very much a holistic, a CX practice kind of approach. And is that potentially something where you see maybe the biggest opportunity for yourselves at Vertical to create an exceptional customer experience practice for your customers?
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. The one word that I would use is expectations. So if you can properly understand the outcomes that the customer wants to achieve and then set the expectations on how you're going to assist them in achieving them, that's really that's really the lubrication, right? It makes all of the parts mesh together well. Because when one group doesn't understand what another group promised or another group expects, that's where you get friction. So expectation setting is that lubrication that makes things run very smoothly.
And when we talk to expectations, I guess as customers' expectations got higher, then the businesses you work with, their expectations have got higher because they need to meet that customer need as well.
Well, I see that we have business that falls into I'll call them different buckets. We have customers that just want to replace what they currently have, and they're typically being forced to replace it, whether it's end of sale, end of life, just old and decrepit, and those are more difficult customers to work with, frankly, because they're not open to insights. They just want to replace, and to bring any additional value can be challenging. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have customers who only want to do it their way. They're not open to any information, any knowledge or know-how, and they can be difficult. So we kind of look for that profile of a customer who's in between, right? Has an idea what they want, but open to insights, looking to expand what they have and grow, and to build a better customer experience, and to provide better tools to do that. And that's where our value really comes into play, is those customers that we can work with and work together as partners, not just as a vendor to call up to order a part here or a license there.
I suppose when you've got those customers that they just want a like for like, or they know exactly what they want, then realistically you're going into those conversations and the technology decision's already been made pretty much, and you're just there to drive down that price essentially and provide value. Whereas when it's a consultative approach and both sides are looking at it from a what could we do, you don't necessarily go in with the solution being known at the start.
I think that's very, very important, is to not solve the customer's problem too early. We have a standing rule on the team: don't answer a question unless you ask another question to dig a little deeper and understand the meaning of the question. And Chris, you've worked with me enough that I'm a big start with why proponent. So we want to understand the why, all of the whys, before we get to the hows and the whats. And then once we start to dig a little deeper, the answers actually start to crystallize and clarify in front. There is, and as you know, Chris, that there's so much complexity out there today. So we try to reduce the number of variables to reduce the amount of complexity. And that makes it a lot easier for our customers to make decisions, because too many options, too many choices paralyze people from making good decisions, or any decisions.
Yeah, I mean, like choice can be a good and a bad thing. I mean, I was partially paralyzed by choice when I was in Rome, and I went into an ice cream shop and made 150 flavors. And there was a lot of just awe of, oh, well, I've got lots of choices here. But, you still go down to maybe what you might normally go for, or you ask for a consultative approach of what do you recommend. And I think I took the approach there of, actually, I had too much choice, so I went with something relatively safe and maybe one wild card out of 3 scoops, and then I walked away regretting having had 3 scoops as well.
I don't think I've ever had less than 3 scoops, though, Chris. So, so I'm not a good. It's not a good example for me when you bring food into the equation.
Very fair, and maybe that's another episode in the future where we just talk about food. Craig, we're going to take a slight break. We're going to put our listeners on hold. They're going to talk to our bot, Holt, and listen to some music, and then we'll come back and talk about one of your favorite customer experiences.
Excellent.
I'm Holt, your AI-powered favorite experience agent. After the tone, please say favorite, and I will connect you with an awesome experience.
Welcome back to my favorite customer experience. I've got Craig Gironda with me today, and having before the break spoken a little bit about what we're seeing within the industry, we're now going to ask Craig to tell us a little bit about one of your favorite customer experiences.
Well, we had a customer who is a municipality, a small city in the eastern part of the United States, and unfortunately, I can't name the city for privacy. And they had the same type of problems that they shared with us that we hear from many companies. So even though it's a small city, very similar to a company, hard to hire people, hard to keep people after you've trained them. And in a call center environment, they were also experiencing a lot of repetitious, very tedious type of calls, like how do I have jury duty? How do I get my pass for parking for the train station? How do I make an appointment for the free clinic? That type of thing. So we talked to a number of people within City Hall, and using the tools that we had available to us from Cognigy in this particular case, we designed a virtual City Hall. So instead of looking at it from the perspective of individuals, we built it around the perspective of, hey, I go to the City Hall. And for example, even today I have to go to the City Hall myself, as fortuitous as today, to pay my property taxes for the first half of the year. And you walk in the City Hall, you look up on the board, and you see what room am I going to pay the taxes. So we created this all both digitally and voice-wise for them, and created that entire virtual City Hall. And what it did was it allowed customers, or constituents in this case, or citizens, to call in and speak in natural language and be able to get to the proper department. And they were given a menu. They could just ask in free text whatever they'd like, or they could ask the bot to play out what the options were. And we were able to deliver that very quickly. Their ROI on that was 2 months. They did not have to let anyone go. They just repurposed all of the people that were agents into handling the more difficult, higher complexity interactions, whether they were calls or chats or emails. And what we found was the expansion to 24/7 made the citizens very happy because they could call up anytime. We were able to flag any problems that were left and use the tools from, in this particular case, 8x8 to get them to the right place up when during normal business, the right person during normal business hours. And we found that everybody was happy internally also because of the reduced volume of those repetitious, mundane calls. So that continues to evolve. I think one of the things that you learn when you're doing these types of tools is it's not a static environment. The data sources continue to change, right? The needs of the people calling in continue to change. And then you start to get a little experience. So now you start to think, well, what else can we add to the mix to improve the overall? So we've gone to being able to do things like your utility bill and all of that for people that don't have a computer, that don't want to go in, they can pay it by phone. And then do you have your PCI compliance? Yes, we can put PCI compliance in place to make sure that your payment card processing is being done properly. And then the ideas start to trigger in people's heads. Well, can we do outbound? Can we proactively reach out instead of waiting for an inbound? And are we getting first contact resolution numbers as high as we'd like? Well, what if we went outbound and there was no contact inbound? So we are actually reducing the volume of interactions. So that was very successful, and we continue to showcase and highlight that as much as we can.
And I think normally we look at putting a light on an individual's favorite customer experience, but here, by the sounds of it, by making that customer experience easier for the constituents of that town, or the citizens of that town. It also, one, made them feel better, made their lives easier. It sounded like there was a high increase in customer satisfaction, but also an increase in employee satisfaction, even, because they're not having to deal with the mundane, the repetitive, the things that, when we look at automation, the things that are easily automatable. You want that human there and ready for that complex. I love that you then, that Vertical took it a step further and started looking at the outbound, because whenever I showcase analytics, one of the things I always talk about is, what if you use this to get in front of the problem? So what if you then use this, combine it with outbound SMS, and say, well, there's an issue we know there's an issue at the moment with taking payments. So we will send anyone a message who is due to make a payment this week, an SMS to say, don't worry, we've got this. You will not incur any charges. We will message you when it's back up and running, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. I agree. And you're right. The analytics tell a story if you are able to properly, analyze them. I like to say, what are your meaningful measurements, right? And let's figure them out, because you can get overwhelmed by the numbers themselves. The numbers themselves might not give you the insight or tell you the story that, tell you what you want to see to be able to make those improvements to make that evolution. So very good point, Chris.
And we talk about influencing behaviors, and you started by saying how it was hard for the authority to keep people employed because people move on. Did they see attrition reduce as a result of adding all of this new capability?
Yeah, we are seeing some attrition reduction. It's definitely been a positive, but we need a longer tail of time. Longer time to be able to make a more accurate assessment of having the attrition rate stay lower.
Makes sense. Well, Craig, thank you very much for sharing that customer experience. It's a shame we can't mention who it is. Sounds like they're doing a great amount for the customer experience and the employee experience of their citizens and their employees. If people want to learn more about what you do and what Vertical do, where can they find you?
Vertical.com. We have actually a fairly new website that we've just put up and that we're very proud of, and all of our information is right there on the website.
Brilliant. Well, I'll put a QR code up while we're talking here and also in the show notes to let people get there. Craig, thank you very much for joining and sharing with us your favorite customer experience.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity to join you today.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Thank you for listening to My Favorite CX. Your listenership is important to us. On your keypad, please press a number between 1 and 5 to rank how much you've enjoyed your experience.